Hello folks, this is Mr. Game and Kirby. Welcome back to the Overwatch Oasis podcast. It looks a little different this time because I am excited to bring you the roundtable playoff preview for Tier 3. It's going to be exciting. I've got three guests here, starting with Wukong,
Hello and good evening. I am
Brow
Captain
Daddy.
Atomic Bomb.
Oh,
Sorry.
Brow Daddy.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Kirby, thanks for having me.
Of course. And then little Aries.
Hi friends, happy to be ripping the noobs.
Yeah, so this is going to be a great show. We're just going to look at each of these playoff matches in depth, and then at the end we're going to do some spicy predictions. So we're just going to go in order by seeding. We'll start with the 1 seed versus 8 seed, and that's Stardust, Crusaders versus Tater Tots. And originally we were going to have Wegzybot on the show, and it's unfortunate that he wasn't able to make it today because he was going to kind of represent the Taters. But you know, that's the 1 versus the 8 seed. Obviously, Tater Tots looking like the big underdogs. What do you guys think Tater Tots need to do in order to pull off the upset?
I'll take this first. I would think like just get with their players together a lot more to work together. Like they were doing really well against us when I was watching our game against them, our last season game with them. They were doing well. It's just a lot of. I just felt like they were a little unorganized in what they were trying to do.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, I know how organized Stardust Crusaders can play going off our regular season game and then scrims we've had against them. You know, it's hard to disrupt them, but I also think keeping someone for the back line, because depending on who is in DPS wise, they like to have a flanker, whether it's your Avity on the Kree or on the Junk. They like to have someone kind of in your own backline most of the time, and so preventing that flanker from getting a lot of value is going to be important as well, I think.
Little Aries, do you have anything to add?
I think the most important thing for Tater Tots is, they've had some pickups. Jibba, is one of them. I'm curious to see if they can synergize well enough in the end to beat the number 1 seed. I always root for the underdog, though, so I think anything's possible.
And I'm glad you kind of brought up the new additions, because that's kind of the next thing I was going to mention. Not only have they gotten Jibba to add to the DPS line, Yuki Yoshida to add to the support line, and then Nerdy Buttercat on the tank line. So do you guys think that those additions could be the thing that puts them over the edge and maybe gets them the upset?
I think all three, like the addition Jibba, Yoshida, and Nerdy Buttercat, all three solid pickups. Like each one can do is a big pickup for each role they have, especially Nerdy Buttercat and Yuki Yoshida. Like, and Jibba's just great with her Junkrat. Is very very clutch.
Yeah, the one thing I wouldn't be surprised to see is, in meat sports, as I've heard people call it, like the veteran presence and the person who's been there in playoffs and had a championship experience, and particularly Jibba. Like Jibba coming off of a tier 2 championship last season, she's like a legit OG. She's been here since the beginning.
Same thing with Psycho Mantis in the championship game last year. Been here since season 1, so they've got that veteran presence.
Yeah, exactly. And like they know good comms. They know how to keep composure. They know to stay a little loose in these games. That's what it's going to come down to, I think.
Yeah, I agree with Brow Daddy as well. Like, I think Jibba brings amazing comms to the team, so don't look past Tater Tots.
Yeah, for sure. Like, when I was casting the game, Wukong, Cosmic Omnics versus Tater Tots, like you can tell, like, they have good plans and they use their ultimates well, but it's a lot of times, sometimes when their plans don't go as they want. They can't quite stabilize as well, and that would be a concern for me, because Stardust Crusaders are very good at that, about taking, team fights that break down and being able to pick apart, everyone that's out of position, whether it be Wukong or Ravity on that DPS line, or whoever's in on tank for that team. And speaking of tanks for Stardust Crusaders, I did want to mention Richard from White Walkers joining that team, and I just kind of wanted to ask, like, what tank line do we think we're gonna see from Stardust Crusaders? Are we gonna see Richard play a big role, or are they gonna kind of stick to Ant Hopkins and Strife and Eldritch Arcana, kind of keep those tank lines? What do you guys think?
I mean, why add him if you guys aren't gonna pull out all the stops?
Definitely.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Richard in for the majority, if not all the maps. I think he's gonna be the constant for them going forward. He's just, I mean, he's a heck of a player. He's a heck of a main tank, and I think with what he can run, optionals, he can run the Rhine, he can run the Bog, he can run the Urison, the Winston before, like all season. He's a legit main tank player, and being able to cycle through a lot of their players, and then being able to flex. Eldritch can play take and support. I know Ant Hopkins can play all three roles as well. So that flexibility that they have added with Richard is really important.
And I also do want to circle back to the Taters on the tank line. Which tank line do you think is going to be the best for them? Obviously with Nerdy Buttercat adding to the team, we've actually kind of seen Jag go on to off tank, but in the past they've kind of had Jag on main tank and McBrantis on off tank. What do you guys think that Taters should do there?
Keeping Nerdy and McBrantis together is probably really a lot hard. Would be a lot harder tank line to face, because that's what I saw. Like, my team had a problem with mainly McBrantis and Nerdy. Jag and Nerdy was also pretty good too, but I think they were just like two main tanks trying to play at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, if you're gonna have, you gotta have either Nerdy or Jag, and I think they're probably best suited on that main tank, and you kind of build those team comps around McBrantis. Anything to add to that, Brow or Aries?
I agree.
Yeah, and I think it's going to also depend on what map they want to run. So let's say they, unfortunately for Tater Tots, they happen to lose first map. They can pick that hybrid map. If they want to run something like the Brawl, which I think would suit Nerdy the best. Something like, they can stick on that Rhine. I know he's a heck of a Rhine player in Tier 2 and Tier 3. Have him stick on the Rhine, run certain comps, but I think that flexibility is going to be important. Jag being able to do a few things, Nerdy be able to do others, and they can both cycle off for each map. I think it's going to be good.
Well, if we have nothing else to, do you guys have anything else to add for this game, or should we move on to the next one?
But would you want to hear something I guess Stardust could do that could make up?
Yeah. I guess we could talk about that. Like, what do we think Stardust needs to do to make sure they don't get upset by Tater Tots?
Well, a lot of things I saw from my KO Tater game, like, I think that Stardust could do to beat Taters easily is, I saw a lot of time like Psycho Mantis was trying to be the hero of the whole play, so he tried to he would look like he would ult without telling the team. From what I saw, like, I don't know the comms in their group or in their team's chat, so from what I saw that it was just him not telling the team, like, hey, I'm gonna ult, and he just ulted. That's like one mistake I kept seeing. If I might be wrong, like maybe he was telling his team, but from what I saw, it looked like it wasn't communicated well. So if they can isolate Psycho Mantis a lot, he'll probably try to play the hero a lot in the fights and not have a good results.
Yeah, I agree.
One thing that's kind of interesting about Tater Tots, is we saw in trades they re-picked up Chase Swanson, and I almost wonder if we're going to see him in the playoffs. Remember, he was fantastic in both Season 3 and Season 4. Really one of the reasons that they were so good in Season 3 and, why they were competitive in Season 4. So, gotta keep an eye out on that as well. But let's keep this thing moving. Let's head on to the 2 versus 7 seed, Valhalla versus Diving Phoenix. And I am actually pretty excited for this game. So the first thing I kind of want to talk about, and maybe leave Brow Daddy out of this for now. I'll get to the Q&A with him about Valhalla as a whole. But for you, Aries and Wukong, obviously Valhalla getting Ziptail, Reflex, Pog, Charles. Do you think this makes Valhalla the favorite to win it all now?
On paper, yes, but
Definitely.
looking at the technicalities that could happen is like, I would see either it's going to be a big impact on them and they're going to sweep the whole playoffs, or there's not going to be enough comfortableness with them, with literally having a whole team of new people with them. It's going to be being either uncomfortable or not well on the same page with each other. It's probably going to be a big cluster of a mess, or a huge super team that's gonna swipe everybody. It can go either way from what I see from far away. Like Valhalla, they're great people. I think they're easy to work with, very good to get along with. But I don't know how White Walkers are, if they're on the same page with them. So it can be either a good thing or a bad thing right here coming in.
And little Aries, you kind of said a yes, you definitely think that they're the team to beat.
Everything that Wukong just said, I need to echo it. On paper, yes, absolutely. They're picking up 4 very strong White Walkers members. But at the same time, these are 2 high seed teams, and I'm sure there's a lot of egos, there's a lot of personality. I'm curious to see if this is going to translate in the map, I would maybe understand 1 pickup, 2 pickups perhaps, but 4 is a lot. I'm curious to see if the synergy is there, if the camaraderie is there, literally everything Wukong said. But yeah.
Yeah, the big thing that I guess for me with seeing all the pickups is, seeing some of the core members might have to hit the bench here. You got Ziptail in here now. Will we see Beant and Moosh getting as much playing time? We'll see, and I'll talk to you about that. That'll be the first question I ask. But it'll be interesting to see how lineups work in terms of SRs. It might be a thing where they're not all gonna be in these maps together. Maybe it's just one. You bring in Charles because you want a specific Lucio player for a Lucio comp, or you bring in Pog to play. I don't know if you want that Tracer. Although you could have Antpo for that as well. But so that's my whole spiel on that. So I'm gonna take it to Brow. How has the new additions been so far? Have you done any scrims, and how confident are you guys that you can make it come together and make the championship run?
So we've had a couple official scrims. The first scrim was really getting to know Reflex, Pog, and Zip with the rest of the team. I know Ann has had some connections with Zip on C9, and then a few of us had played with each other in another league as C10. So we're a little more comfortable with each other. Obviously, there are the things to work out of getting new players. There are going to be the SR allotments. It's going to be working out lineups, but I think they've been going really well. And I think the biggest part of that is how willing all of us are when it comes to winning. We don't care who's on the field. I've always said that this team, any 6 of us combined on our roles could beat any other 6 in the league. And it's the same sentiment. I mean, Zip, Charles, Reflex, and Pog all think the same way. I mean, that was a thing that they were worried about as well, if I can be honest. It's the whole, we don't want to mess with any structure, we don't want to mess with any lineups you are doing. Like, we're here to win as well. Like, we're here to be team players, and I think that's the best thing about what was White Walkers and what is now C11 is that they're there to win, and the comms are good. I mean, shockingly enough, Charles likes to talk. So he'll call stuff out. Zip will call stuff out. Pog will call stuff out. Reflex will call stuff out. And I think they've been meshing really well with us. Obviously, we have a couple more things to work on since we are a relatively one core of a team combining with another core. So there are some things to work on. But yeah, I've been really happy, real pleased with the results we've been looking at so far.
Well, that's good to hear. So, your final game of the season was against Little Aries, where you guys reverse swept Prodigy Noobs, and I just want to hear from you, like, what things in that game are you looking to continue to do well in the playoffs, and other things, maybe that didn't go as well in that game, especially in the first half, that you're going to try and clean up for the playoffs?
Well, I think first off, it's that continued flexibility. Like I knew we were in a bit of trouble, obviously down 2-0, and we haven't been 4-0 all season, and there are times where I'm like, if we don't shape things up, we're gonna be heading towards a 4-0 loss, and that meant some playoff seedings. Like Prodigy could have been 2, it could have been 3, matchups could be changed, that kind of thing. But I think the flexibility of like taking the BX Hunter out for a map, and really he can think about some stuff, and then putting it back in on support, and then rotating with Rev on tank, and being able to run certain lineups. You take an 11 out of the lineup, we can run a little bit higher on DPS, run a little bit higher on support. So it's that flexibility is going to be good, and I think sometimes we get a little lost in fights, and it was pointed out, in bunches those first couple of mats against Prodigy Noobs. So just making sure that we're running a tight ship when it comes to certain comms and comes to certain alt usage as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So, let's not leave the other team out here though. Diving Phoenix, they've had a really weird season. They've had a lot of roster turmoil and switch ups, but even though they did go 0-2 in these last 2 weeks, they did actually look all right against both White Walkers and Stardust. So do you think this, and this is for everyone again, do you think that there is sneaky upset potential with this Diving Phoenix team?
Anybody want to take that? I'm kind of at a loss for words for Diving.
Yeah, I can start. The team we're playing. Diving. I feel like they've been our most consistent scrim partner, so I feel like we know each other pretty well. There have been just wars, even if we're not some of us we can do a map 5, some of us we can't, but most of the time it's 2-2 at the end of map 4, and someone has to win, so we play it out either way. I mean they're fun games. They're a fun team to play against, and thankfully we got the win against them in the regular season. I think that was kind of a big turning point for us. But I mean they are not a team to take lightly. Each role has the role to potentially carry through certain maps, and they're a tough team to beat. They're scrappy, and so if we let them take their own pace, it's another thing. If we let them play at their own pace, they can be a dangerous team.
Especially Honey Biscuits coming back, and that's the person that everybody was afraid of last season. Just don't know when you're gonna get picked off, so that's that it can be a huge carry for them, or if the Valhalla takes her down, and I mean not saying focus on her only, but I think that's probably one of the biggest what's it called, structures they have is her. take her down, the whole team can probably crumble from there, or they can probably prevail from that.
For them, it'll also a lot of questions on their tank lineup as well, because we've kind of seen Bambi come back into this lineup, but I think the big question is with John Hawk is whether or not he'll play more main tank or more off tank, what Bad Juju will do as well. They've got kind of an interesting situation with their tanks as well. Yeah, so anything else that anyone wants to add for this game?
I mean, for Prodigy noobs, like our biggest scrim partner, just like Valhalla, is Diving Phoenix. We've scrimmed them the most, and once again, I got to root for the underdog. I don't think anybody should count them out just yet.
Definitely,
yeah. Yeah, I agree, especially, and we haven't even mentioned Pop-Tart as well, coming in and playing like Sombra. They look really good on those Sombra comps where they combo like EMP bombs like that. That's definitely a dangerous thing you got to watch out for. And luckily for you, Brad Addy, you've got an equally good Sombra on your team and Ravioli Stain, so if it ever comes to that, you can fall back on that. But obviously, Diving Phoenix have their strengths, and if they're not taken into account, they can beat anyone, I think.
They have Kenny McCormick too. I've just realized that.
Yeah, he's been playing support
team?
for them.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move on to the next game, the 3 seed versus the 6 seed, Prodigy Noobs versus Cosmic Omnics, and we have a representative from both. And I'm gonna go ahead and start with.
Should be fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the Q&A with Wukong. So right now, Cosmic Omnics, they needed to pretty much win those last 2 games to make it in. Theoretically, that was before the White Walkers thing, but and you did it. You beat We the Ops and you beat Tater Tots. Not going to say they were in convincing fashion, but relatively comfortably as well. So what types of things are you taking from that win streak and trying to apply it into the playoffs?
Mainly showing that our tank lineup's a lot stronger now with Tenchi and Disco and Tai, but all 3 of them being able to rotate in through there. And mainly just like that was our main big weakness that we kept coming through, was worrying about tanks. But now that we're actually stable there and our DPSs are good, and if I'm benched for healer, that's how I know my healing lineup is good too. So I'm taking all that into the next game, or I'm gonna be okay with every lineup I throw in, or that we think of out of the captains.
So what are some of the last improvements that you're kind of hoping to, get in play to try and get this upset versus Prodigy Noobs?
Improvements probably just our ult management still.
Yeah.
That's one thing I think everybody always points out about us, is having our ults just thrown all out at once.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that I've noticed too.
Yeah, we have a lot of basically, I want to say leaders in our team, because Josh or Disco was the captain before, Katie was the captain before, Cross is the captain of KD, and Mystic's also a leader in her organization. So it's a bunch of leaders just running in, and it's sometimes hard. We all want to take charge at the same time. And Kat's my co-captain, so she's also just I said, a bunch of leaders going in. So I think that's what makes our ults all happen, is that everybody wants to lead the way in, and we all end up leading at the same time.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about before we move on to Aries' side of the story. So we already kind of talked about Tenchi and Disco as new additions that have been within the past couple weeks, but there's a couple more I wanted to talk about. Kron Goblin was your guys' I guess consolation prize in terms of the White Walkers debacle, and then of course our Demo has also joined your team, and it was interesting to see him actually play some support. So tell us a little bit what you think that they're going to be doing for you here in the playoffs?
Our demo, especially, like he'll be our like giving like Cat a break in between maps or giving Mystic a break in between maps. Just don't want to like they'd love to play all the maps, but like sometimes it's need like that middle break. And Demo's like very good on 2CP, so like that's his strongest map. So that's where we kind of had a little weakness there. So having him there is gonna help out a lot, especially with Cross or with Pokken or with Syndicate. Like we can pair these guys up so much that like it'll help out no matter what we throw in. And who's Kron's gonna be that main flexibility we need. Like if we need another tank, he's there. We need another DPS, he's there. His Symmetra's really good. Like we know the healer, he's there. Like that's like he was gonna basically our flex player that we needed.
Yeah, he actually has been very sneaky solid for that White Walkers team on support, playing BAP or Moira. Been really good. So let's go ahead and move on to Aries. They're actually kind of on the flip side of what we were talking about with Wukong, on a bit of a losing streak right here. I believe you lost your last 2 games, if I'm not mistaken.
PTSD.
Yes, okay, so yes, I am correct. But I don't want to, make this be a bad thing. Like, what do you think are the things that you guys need to improve on before getting into the playoffs, to get back that momentum that you had earlier in the season?
Well, honestly, to touch back on, like, the whole PTSD comment, like, we did really, really good. Like, yes, we made some mistakes, but the game came down to the last mini-map. So even though we lost, I'm like trying to get us to like not beat ourselves up, just be positive on the whole situation. Just like many other teams, like we have new signs and new pickups, and we've lost a lot of people along the way, and a lot of really strong, good people. So I think given the circumstances, like we're doing really good, especially for a new team, who again like has been shaken to their core like 2 or 3 times. So I don't know. I'm just really proud of us.
Well, yeah. So the next question I was gonna have is maybe a hard one, and if you don't feel like answering it, you totally don't have to. But how has the loss of Boss, kind of affected the team, or how have you kind of risen up from that, and maybe become a better team because of it, or been able to move past it at least?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at first it was hard, of course, because it like kind of came out of left field and like shocked us all. But I think also it's really like pushed us and propelled us to like want to even do even better, because Boss has done so much for our organization. Like he's like 90% of the reason like why we ticked and we worked so well. And so we just want to make him proud. So if anything, it's been like a fire lit under us. Yeah, it's obviously sad, but like I don't want to say blessing in disguise, but like it's that push that like I think we really need as a team right now.
Yeah, speaking from experience, maybe sometimes, obviously Boss was one of your best players, and it is unfortunate when you have to lose that player, but maybe sometimes it also like helps you find things that maybe that good player was covering up. Now you can see more of the improvements you need to make as a team. I can speak from experience last season with Pizza Planet when we lost Super Ninja to Diamond. Like we struggled at the end of the regular season, but we were able to make the adjustments that we needed to, and we had a strong playoff run, and we're able to make it to the championship. So I definitely know about that. And the last thing I want to talk to you about, Aries, is you kind of mentioned you have some new additions, and let's talk about them. The main 2 being Psycho Zordon, now named Sky Zord, and then KDB. So how have they been so far?
They've just been like they just like slid right in. They've been like perfect fits, part of the family, no issues at all. I'm really excited to play along both sides of them. So Katie's a great support. Like there's not really much else to say. She's a great support, and
perfect Boss replacement too. Like play that Mercy really well. Play some like Lucio and Moira as well. Brig.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I would say perfect. Just kidding. But
Well, yeah.
Miss you, boss.
Yeah,
but
no, you know what I'm saying though. Like,
no, yeah,
you're
definitely.
still getting
definitely.
a really, really dang good player in KDB.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then I'm super excited about Psycho Zordon too. Just everything he plays is so well. Like I have to, even myself, like I have to take a step back because one of my best DPS is Sim, and obviously one of his best DPS, if not his best, is Sim. So I have to like sometimes maybe like take a step back and be like, is this the right time for me to play Sim, or is this the right time for him to play Sim? But with that said, like I'm really excited to have him. He's a great addition. I think we're gonna show out.
Yeah, I also think increases your guys' ceiling on, well, I was going to say ceiling on Pharah as well, but obviously you got Rusha there, but maybe you can combine Rusha with Psycho Zordon. Maybe he can play the Pharah, and then Rusha can play like Genji or Hanzo or something. So that's it for the Q&A. So now I'm going to bring it to Brow Daddy. What do you think these two teams need to do in order to win?
Having played both teams KO much earlier on in the season and then Prodigy Noobs way more recently, I think what's gonna have to happen is if Noobs want to win, they have to keep doing what they have been doing. I think running the Sim and running the Mei has been like super like important for them. Or switching off with the Sombra. If you want to get something like Dive, set up like the ZMP bombs that have been working so well all season. But I really think like the Mei and Sim play have been so good, and with how good Brawl is right now, even with the Rhine nerf, I think like y'all's Mei play has been exceptional. And if KO wants to win this, it's gonna be maybe running something a little more odd. I know your DPS are kind of nuts, having become, for some reason, like Hunter and myself have become your personal play-by-play duo. It's very odd how that's kind of happened. We've watched a lot of you all, and we've seen like what your DPS are capable of, and how like they're able to get a first pick like every single fight, and playing off that momentum and playing off that tempo is like super important. And like, because like if you take off a squishy, you take off a support, you take off one of those important DPS, like that Mei play, that Sim play, that Summer play, it can kind of fall apart after. So I think prioritizing those targets, those DPS, are going to be your biggest key to winning.
And I think one thing to look at for this game is the main tank battle. Obviously, we saw Tenchi come in and he immediately played just as well as Nerdy Buttercat and Jag, who are both great main tanks in their own right. Well, if there isn't a harder battle for Tenchi coming up than against Mexi Aguaya, that will be an interesting thing to see if Tenchi can step up in that game. That could definitely make it interesting. And actually, Mexi has been kind of main tank differencing pretty much everyone in the league, I think, this season. I think we can all agree on that. So, if Tenchi can step up to the plate and maybe not even beat him, but at least match him, that could be a huge thing for Cosmic Omnics.
And Tenchi's role is actually a DPS, so like that's his secondary role as tank.
That's funny.
My main role is support, but then it's DPS and it's tank.
Okay.
This is third role in a way. And since we'll have our other tanks there, we might see Tenchi on DPS.
Ooh, okay. That would be interesting. So, let's move on to the final game. I Need Healing versus We The Ops, and sadly we don't really have much of a representation in terms of this game either. So, obviously, We The Ops, they've also gone under some roster turmoil like Diving Phoenix, but definitely, I think a lot of people are kind of low on this We The Ops team right now. They lost to KO in Week 19, and they got walloped by Stardust Crusaders in their final game. So, what do you guys think We The Ops needs to do in order to get back on their feet. We were talking about this team possibly being a championship contender back early in the season, and now it's hard to see if they'll even win a game. But what do you guys think they can do to possibly pull off an upset and maybe get themselves back into that championship conversation?
Well, I think early on, they had Super Ninja and Butt and Disco. That was their core, that was their big three, and Super Ninja hits Diamond again, kind of like a couple seasons ago, and the same thing. I mean, Disco didn't hit Diamond, but Disco leaves, and you're losing a core piece, and it's not like a stretch to say they are the weirdest, most bizarre, chaotic team in the league. That's their thing. If they keep that playstyle going, with the main thing they kind of focus on is either A, keeping Butt alive and making sure Butt can do his thing, because his thing is good, or B, you have to take care of their defense. You have to take care of Ani Healing's DPS. That, I have always thought that that is the best part of that team. I'm not pooping on their tank or support play, but Dylan and Rocky and Cinder McFluff have been their carries all season. I think prioritizing one of those two, if not both, is going to be the biggest thing for the Ops to do. And I honestly think I think it's a 50-50 game. 4 and 5 is such a close seeding for a reason, and I really do think we the Ops have a good chance of winning this game.
Interesting. How about you, Wukong? You were kind of the last one here in this group that played them. What were some of the things you noticed in that game that you think that they could improve on?
They kind of had the opposite building that we had. We had from such a thin lineup to a thick roster. They kind of went from a thick roster to a thin lineup now. Dark Zombie's probably their best player right now. Magic is good too, but he needs to know when to play himself or not, or when because I feel he did really good on heals against us. He probably should stick to that a little bit and let Dark Zom go DPS.
Well, Dark Zom can't play heals anymore. He did hit Diamond on that role, which was an unfortunate loss for them. But before we continue the conversation, one thing I think that is interesting to note is they did not have Ausdegod in their game against Stardust Crusaders, and I think that's been kind of one of their big pieces they're hoping to possibly, come back for the playoffs and help them.
Yeah, them having everything will probably give them a lot better. What was that?
Brow Daddy left. That's fine. Keep going.
He probably timed out. I think them, if they have all their pieces, they could be a very they could make I Need Healing just get confused, because their gameplay is chaotic. So if they just keep doing what they're doing to what they do with every team, I Need Healing will either get confused or not know what to do or get overwhelmed by what they're doing, or if I Need Healing stays calm and collective, they can overcome that surprise and just wipe them out. So it can go either way, this one too. Because they're in the middle, they're really head to head right there. That's going to be I think one of the biggest head to heads equal matches here.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Little Aries?
So, I think from our game with We the Ops, from the outside looking in, obviously I don't know, but I think the team could benefit from a little bit more structure. Now, we all know that they love their chaos comp. I'm not saying to completely switch it up, but I think it needs to be tweaked just a little bit, and I think that'll really help them out, because there would be times where I'd be oh, there's no way they're gonna do this, and then I turn around and they do it. But it works for them, and that's okay.
That classic moment on Temple of Anubis where
Definitely
Fenzi used one of the worst gravitic fluxes I've ever seen. He was all alone and somehow Magic gets back and is able to Tater and win the fight. That was a crazy game. Me and Charles were casting that one, so you kind of know what they are capable of when everything's going right.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think I Need Healing needs to come in knowing if you think you know what to expect for them, you don't.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
So then on the I Need Healing side, they've recently acquired Yusuf Chiki from White Walkers, who was mainly playing support for White Walkers, but could we possibly see them coming back and playing some tank, maybe playing some of that Orisa? Because if you saw in that game against Pizza Planet, they had Take the Strap playing tank, and she did not look too comfortable on that. That seemed like a last-minute decision, like they kind of had to improvise on the spot, and that was the best way they could do it. So what do you guys think of that addition?
I think
Yeah.
they might put her more on tank, Chicky on tank, because that's what she's more comfortable on. But she's very good at healer still too. So Take the Strap can probably go back to her own position and role on the team. 'Cause I think it did from what I collected from I saw Dylan talk about in chats, like I don't think he was very comfortable on tank during that game, because I think he was also on tank for a few maps. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think Volunteer has kind of been MIA for them a little bit lately. Him and Nifty Chipmunk have kind of been the bulk of their tank core this season. So yeah, that game is going to be interesting. I personally am kind of feeling I Need Healing would be able to win it easily because I think they've got great DPS, but obviously we know what We The Ops is capable of. Would you look at that? Brow Daddy's back, except he's on the enemy team now. Oh, no. But, oh, crap, yeah, he's actually not in voice chat. Let me get him in here.
Right.
Okay, I think he's
Sorry
back.
about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
Spectrum's really cool.
Before we move on to the final section, being the predictions, do you have any last things you want to add in terms of the I Need Healing We The Ops game?
Yeah, I think I Need Healing has had some up and downs this season, but I really do think, like, same thing with We The Ops, like, I think it can go either way. I think they have a good chance of winning it as well. I just think they need to focus on running some better comps. They'll start off really well on certain things or trying certain things, and then when it stops working, they won't switch off of it. And I think that willingness to switch things up is going to be a big thing. They want to move past this first round.
Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap this thing up with the prediction. So let's go back to that 1 versus 8 seed. What are you guys thinking in terms of Stardust, Crusaders versus Tater Tots? I'll go first. I'm thinking that I think the Taters keep this competitive, but overall I think it's going to be a 3-1 in favor of Stardust.
Bro, you want to go next?
Yeah, I like to play things safe. I didn't do fantasy this year, but I feel like I've been really bad at it for this reason. So I'm just gonna be safe, and I'll be a 3-1 Anderson for Stardust Crusaders winning.
Just stop.
Um,
I'm gonna say 4-0 on the Taters.
Well, there isn't. It's not. It's first to 3, so 3-0.
3-0.
Yeah. Okay.
I keep reading that.
And then Little Aries, what are you thinking?
Man, like I said earlier, I always root for the underdog, but I think in this particular situation, I'm gonna have to give it to Stardust Crusaders as well.
Yeah. I don't think it's impossible that Taters
Definitely
win.
not.
For sure. Like, if they play their best game, I think they can compete with anyone. But yeah, it's just tough considering how well Stardust, especially lately, have been. They kind of had a little bit of a snare there in the middle of the season, losing to Pizza Planet, having a couple close games here and there, but they've been really hitting their stride, and it's tough to bet against them. So we'll go to Valhalla versus Diving Phoenix. I am going to pick Valhalla to win 3-2. I think Diving Phoenix will make this a close game. Like you said, Bro Daddy, Valhalla, very big scrim partner. I think the teams share a lot in common, and I think this could be a really good game.
Yeah, 3-0 Valhalla.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I assume.
Yeah, I don't plan on losing any maps. I think they are a good team, but I think we're firing on all cylinders now. I think we're gonna really figure things out by next Monday is when we're gonna play. We've had some scheduling issues with some of them for the early half of this week, and then some of us for the latter half of this week. So we'll be pushing it to next Monday, thankfully. But yeah, I think by then we will be good to go.
Okay, and then Wukong, what do you think?
See, it depends on what their tank shows up on the Dying Phoenix, but I gotta give it to Valhalla as well. I would say 3-2. It's gonna be a hard fight, a good fight.
And Little Aries?
Mad respect for you, Brow Daddy, but I'm gonna switch things up and I'm gonna say 3-2 Diving Phoenix.
Ooh.
Only going back to that my first point, like there's a lot of additions. I'm curious and interested to see like what the synergy is gonna be like on game day.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, yeah, that could be the deciding factor if Diving Phoenix are able to get off to an early lead, and Valhalla gets behind, it'll maybe be tough.
My opinion would be like the maps that y'all lose will probably be the ones that like White Walkers are just, I guess, not working with y'all. But from what you said, y'all are working together well, so that's where I would like y'all to prove me wrong at 3-0 then.
So let's move on to the next game. Obviously, we know what Wukong and Little Aries are going to say for Prodigy Noobs versus Cosmic Omnics. So I'm going to start. This, I think, is, in my opinion, the toughest game to call because I think this could go either way. I don't know. I've actually been really high on Cosmic Omnics lately, and I'm going to pick them to win 3-1. What about you, bro? I'm sorry, Aries. You've had a great season, but man, I love the improvements that Cosmic Omnics have been making.
I will go the other way, and I will lean towards a 3-1 Prodigy Noobs win.
Okay, and then the final game, I Need Healing versus We the Ops. I kind of made my opinion pretty clear. I don't think this is going to be very close. I think I Need Healing gets a pretty convincing 3-0 victory, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. If I Need Healing can handle the chaos, which I think they know what they're walking into, I think it'll be a 3-0 as well.
Bro, or...
Yeah, I will actually counterpoint that. I don't think they have any idea what they're going to be walking into, because I don't think anyone really does, especially with the ops. That being said, I am going to be a little stupid and go 3-0 with the ops.
Ooh, now that is a bold pick right there. Wukong, you gonna match that?
Well, I agree with Brow, because like at the same time too, I know that We the Ops, if they bring up their whole like lineup, they will come in hard and like beat I Need Healing. Like I Need Healing started off strong, but I think they kind of like got bumpy at the end. So like they're probably at the same level, and if We the Ops get their stuff together, they lost Prof and all their good players, but I think they still have enough good players left that they could all work together and make this chaos like in their favor. So just depending on what their team is, I was going to say We the Ops 3-0, honestly, if they have everybody.
Okay, well, that is everything that I had on the docket for today. Any final comments for you three before we call today?
I just want to wish you guys the best in playoffs. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially against you, Wukong.
I'm very sad that I have to watch from the sidelines. Peach Planet, we made all those great improvements, but we just couldn't. We were two maps away, dude.
So well.
We should have won. We should have won Rialto against We the Ops, and we should have won Numbani against Tater Tots, but what do you do? Anyways, thanks for everyone who tuned in. Who's who will tune in. I hope you enjoyed it. I really like doing these as well. I like doing the solo episodes as well, but these are always fun occasions. Thank you, Wukong, Brow, and Little Aries for joining me. That was a lot of fun. And we're gonna call it.
Of course. Thanks again for
Thank
having me.
you.
Bye.